Camille Reyes and Omar Al-Farouq seemed like the perfect newlyweds, until one secret, one forbidden love, and one shocking night in a Dubai hotel turned their fairy tale into a deadly tragedy. Camille Reyes had always dreamed of a life filled with love, travel, and stability. Growing up in Manila, she worked tirelessly to support her family, taking on long shifts as a hotel receptionist. Her warm personality and calm smile caught the attention of countless guests, but none as persistent as Omar Al-Farouq, a soft-spoken hotel manager from Dubai. He admired her dedication and simplicity, often stopping by her desk just to exchange a few polite words. Over time, their brief encounters turned into late-night calls and heartfelt letters. When Omar returned to Dubai, their long-distance relationship only grew stronger. After 2 years of planning and promises, he proposed, and Camille said yes without hesitation. Their wedding in Dubai was nothing short of magical. The ceremony took place at a rooftop venue overlooking the glittering skyline, attended by a few close friends and family members. Camille, dressed in a white lace gown, looked radiant, while Omar couldn't take his eyes off her. For her, it was more than just a union. It was the beginning of a new chapter far from the struggles of her past. The couple's first few weeks together were filled with laughter, shared meals, and plans for the future. Omar treated her with patience and generosity, and Camille felt she had found her safe haven. Yet beneath the glow of their new life, something fragile lingered. Omar's family, though polite, seemed distant. His younger brother, Khalid, avoided long conversations, barely acknowledging her during gatherings. Camille brushed it off as shyness, unaware that her story was quietly intertwining with his in ways that would soon lead to devastation. The fairy tale beginning was just a disguise for the darkness that was waiting to unfold. Khalid Al-Farouq was the kind of man who stayed in the background, content to let his older brother shine. While Omar managed luxury hotels and enjoyed a comfortable life, Khalid worked quietly as an assistant accountant in the same company. He was intelligent but withdrawn, often feeling overshadowed by Omar's confidence and charm. When Camille entered their lives, Khalid saw her as yet another thing his brother had that he never would: love, companionship, and happiness. At first, he kept his distance, greeting her with polite smiles during family dinners. But as time passed, something unexpected began to stir inside him. Camille's kindness reached everyone around her. She was gentle, always remembering small details, who liked sugar in their tea, who preferred silence after work. Khalid noticed these things and, against his better judgment, started to admire her. When Omar asked him to help Camille with her residency paperwork, they began seeing each other more often. Their conversations were light and respectful at first, but there was an unspoken tension neither of them wanted to acknowledge. Khalid found himself looking forward to her messages, her laughter, the way she made even ordinary days feel meaningful. For Camille, it began as simple friendship. She appreciated Khalid's sincerity and the quiet understanding he offered when she missed her family back home. But loneliness has a way of blurring boundaries. The long hours Omar spent at work left her emotionally adrift, and Khalid was always there, ready to listen. Soon, what started as innocent companionship evolved into something forbidden. Late-night calls replaced polite texts, and stolen glances turned into moments of weakness. Both knew it was wrong, yet neither could stop. The connection grew in silence, creating a dangerous secret that would soon destroy them all. The first signs of change were subtle. Camille began waking earlier, spending longer hours on her phone, and often excusing herself to the balcony to call her family. Omar noticed but dismissed it at first, believing she was simply homesick. Their once vibrant conversations turned shorter, and their shared laughter faded into long silences during dinner. The newlywed glow that surrounded their marriage began to dim, replaced by a quiet unease neither wanted to confront. Omar tried to fill the growing distance with gifts and weekend outings, but Camille's smile seemed forced, her eyes always distracted. He started to question himself. Was he being too controlling, or was something truly wrong? At night, he would turn in bed to find her still awake, scrolling through messages she quickly hid when he stirred. He told himself that trust was the foundation of marriage, but doubt began to eat away at him. The woman who once couldn't wait to tell him every detail of her day had become a stranger sharing his home. Camille, meanwhile, was trapped between guilt and fear. She knew what she was doing was wrong, but her emotions had spiraled beyond control. Khalid's attention gave her the comfort she had started missing in Omar. Every lie she told weighed heavily on her conscience, yet she couldn't pull away. The pressure of her secret began affecting her work and sleep, and even simple moments with Omar felt suffocating. The house that once symbolized love now echoed with tension. Small misunderstandings turned into long silences, and Omar began to feel the coldness of betrayal before he even knew the truth. Something precious had slipped away, and no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't bring it back. Omar believed a change of scenery might save their marriage. Wanting to recreate the spark they once had, he booked a weekend stay at the luxury hotel where they had first met. He imagined it as a romantic gesture, a reminder of how their story began. Camille smiled faintly when he told her, but her mind was far from the excitement he hoped for. The thought of being in that same hotel filled her with dread because it was also the place where her hidden relationship with Khalid had begun. Still, she agreed, pretending to be thrilled by the surprise. When they arrived, the staff greeted them warmly, unaware of the storm beneath their polite smiles. Their suite was breathtaking. White roses on the table, soft music playing, and the city lights flickering through the window. Omar watched Camille move around the room, hoping to see genuine joy on her face, but she seemed distracted, checking her phone every few minutes. Each time it buzzed, her expression tightened. What Omar didn't know was that the messages were from Khalid, asking to see her urgently. She deleted them one by one, terrified that her husband might see. As evening fell, Omar tried to lighten the mood with dinner and conversation, but Camille's responses were distant, almost rehearsed. He reached for her hand, but she gently pulled away, saying she felt tired. That small rejection cut deeper than words. Later, while Omar showered, she stood on the balcony, phone trembling in her hands, torn between ending everything or replying to Khalid's desperate texts. The city below sparkled, hiding the darkness closing in above. The hotel that once symbolized love was now the setting for a tragedy quietly waiting to happen. Earlier that day, before Omar and Camille checked into their suite, Khalid had already been at the hotel. He arrived under the pretense of delivering a financial document to the management office, but in truth, he had come for one final meeting with Camille. She had asked to see him, determined to end their secret affair. The guilt had become unbearable, and she knew that continuing would destroy not only her marriage, but also the brothers' relationship forever. Khalid resisted the idea, begging her to reconsider. He claimed that what they had was real, something worth risking everything for. Camille stood firm, her voice breaking as she told him it was over. The meeting took place in a quiet corner of the hotel cafe, hidden from most guests. But a waiter recognized Camille as Omar's wife and quietly took notice of the exchange. Their body language was tense, Camille's hands shaking, Khalid's expression unreadable. When she got up to leave, Khalid grabbed her wrist for a brief second, pleading with her to stay, but she pulled away and walked out without looking back. That fleeting moment, captured by a few curious eyes, would later ignite whispers among the hotel staff. By afternoon, the story of seeing Omar's wife with his brother had spread discreetly between employees. When Omar arrived later that evening to surprise Camille, a staff member hesitated before telling him what they had seen. Shock turned into confusion, confusion into disbelief. Omar's excitement for the romantic weekend was replaced with a gnawing unease. Though he tried to appear calm, a part of him already knew the truth was about to surface. The secret that Camille thought she had buried was already beginning to unravel, one whispered rumor at a time. That night, as the city glimmered outside their hotel window, Omar's phone buzzed with a message that shattered his world. It came from an unknown number, but what he saw made his blood run cold. A photo of Camille and his brother Khalid sitting together in the hotel cafe earlier that day. They weren't just talking, their closeness told a different story. For a long moment, he couldn't move. The walls around him seemed to close in as his mind raced through every strange detail of the past few weeks. The late-night calls, the secrecy, the emotional distance, it all made sense now. Omar's hands trembled as he stared at the photo again, anger slowly replacing the shock. He wanted to deny it, to believe there was an explanation, but deep down, he already knew. His heart pounded as he dialed Khalid's number, yet hung up before it could connect. A flood of betrayal overwhelmed him. His wife, the woman he trusted most, and his brother, the person he had protected since childhood. In the suite, Camille noticed the change in his expression the moment he turned toward her. He asked nothing, said nothing, but the silence between them screamed louder than words. Then he placed his phone on the table where she could see the image. Her body froze. The color drained from her face, her lips parting in shock. She tried to speak, but no words came. Omar's stare was cold and hollow, filled with hurt too deep to describe. She knew then that everything was over. The lies, the hiding, the fragile mask of happiness. The truth had finally found its way to him, and there was no turning back from what was coming next. The hotel's security cameras captured Omar entering the suite just before 10:47 p.m., his posture tense and his movements sharp. Camille followed him moments later, her steps hesitant, her face pale. Behind the closed door, no one could see what truly unfolded, but investigators would later piece together fragments of that night. Neighbors in nearby rooms reported hearing muffled voices, a chair scraping the floor, and something heavy falling. The sound of running water followed soon after, then silence. Staff on the night shift discussed calling security but decided not to interfere, assuming it was a personal argument that would soon settle down. Inside, the confrontation reached a breaking point. Omar, consumed by betrayal and disbelief, demanded answers. Camille tried to explain, but her words only deepened his rage. The image of his brother and wife together burned in his mind, twisting every memory they shared into something unbearable. He couldn't understand how the woman he had trusted with his future could deceive him so deeply. Camille, terrified and regretful, pleaded for forgiveness, but her tears only blurred the line between guilt and fear. What happened next remains uncertain. Whether it was a moment of uncontrollable anger or a tragic accident, no one can say. The chaos inside that suite ended abruptly. When the noise stopped, the city outside continued as if nothing had happened. The glowing skyline, the hum of traffic, the laughter from nearby rooms, all carried on, unaware that behind one locked door, love had turned into violence. By the time dawn approached, the room was still again, the air heavy with silence. Only the faint sound of running water remained, marking the end of a night that would soon become the center of a shocking investigation. At 7 a.m., the hotel corridor was unusually quiet when a cleaner knocked on the door of the suite for the morning service. There was no response. She tried again, then called the reception to report the silence. After repeated unanswered calls, security arrived and unlocked the door. What they found inside froze everyone in place. The air was damp, the bathroom door half open, and the faint sound of running water echoed through the suite. Inside the tub, Camille's body lay motionless, her skin pale against the cold tiles. The scene was haunting. A faint scent of perfume still lingered in the room, mixing with the metallic smell of water. Beside the sink, her wedding ring had been placed neatly next to a torn photograph of her and Omar from their wedding day. The rest of the suite looked undisturbed. No signs of forced entry, no stolen items, just an eerie stillness. The staff quickly sealed the area and called the police. Within minutes, investigators arrived, marking off the room and gathering evidence. Bruises were visible around Camille's neck and wrists, suggesting a struggle. The timeline was narrow, and Omar was nowhere to be found. News of the discovery spread quickly through the hotel and beyond. Guests whispered in the lobby as officers moved in and out, carrying evidence bags and photographs. By afternoon, every news outlet in Dubai had begun reporting the mysterious death of the young Filipina bride. To those who had seen the couple only hours before, smiling and polite, it was impossible to imagine such horror. But as detectives reviewed the security footage, the truth began to emerge piece by piece, revealing that this was no ordinary tragedy. It was a crime born from betrayal, rage, and heartbreak. The investigation began immediately, drawing the attention of both local authorities and international media. Dubai police reviewed every camera in the hotel, tracing Omar's last known movements. Footage showed him leaving the suite shortly after midnight, his face pale, eyes empty, walking quickly through the lobby without speaking to anyone. He got into his car and drove off into the night. That was the last confirmed sighting of him. Detectives began collecting statements from staff and guests, piecing together the fragments of a night that had ended in death. When questioned, Khalid appeared calm at first, insisting he knew nothing about what had happened. He told investigators he hadn't seen Camille since earlier that afternoon and that their meeting had been about family matters. But inconsistencies in his story quickly emerged. His phone records showed multiple calls and messages exchanged with Camille throughout the evening, some only minutes before her death. When confronted with this evidence, his confidence faltered. Meanwhile, forensic teams combed through the suite, analyzing every surface for fingerprints and traces of DNA. The evidence pointed overwhelmingly toward Omar being present during the time of death, but the emotional motives behind the act were still being untangled. Investigators found traces of broken glass near the bed, suggesting a heated argument had taken place. A hair belonging to Khalid was also discovered on Camille's clothing, raising questions about his involvement. As news spread, the public's fascination with the case intensified. Social media filled with speculation. Some blamed the husband, others suspected the brother. The story had become a scandal, one that exposed the dark side of love and family loyalty. The more investigators uncovered, the clearer it became that every person involved was hiding something. After several days of silence, Khalid was brought in once again for further questioning. This time, detectives confronted him with evidence they could no longer ignore: his messages to Camille, his presence at the hotel that day, and the witness who had seen them together. Khalid tried to remain composed, but the weight of the situation began to crack his calm exterior. His hands shook as he spoke, his voice barely steady. He admitted that he had met Camille that afternoon, confirming they had been romantically involved for several months. He said she wanted to end things, and that their meeting at the hotel was meant to be their final goodbye. However, Khalid insisted he had nothing to do with her death. He said that after Camille walked away from him, he returned home and had not seen her again. When the detectives asked why he hadn't mentioned this earlier, he said he feared it would destroy his family. Then, under growing pressure, Khalid revealed something even more devastating. He had received a phone call from Omar later that night. Omar, furious and heartbroken, had shouted at him, accusing him of betrayal. Khalid claimed his brother's voice was trembling, filled with despair and rage. Those were the last words he ever heard from him. By the end of the interrogation, Khalid broke down completely, his tears blurring the line between guilt and grief. He told police that Omar had always been his protector, his guide, and now he had ruined everything between them. His confession didn't prove murder, but it painted a clearer picture of the emotional chaos that led to tragedy. Investigators now feared the worst, that Omar's love for Camille had turned to fury, and his guilt had driven him to an irreversible act. For the next several days, the city buzzed with speculation as police launched a massive search for Omar. His car was found abandoned near Dubai Creek, the driver's seat pushed back, the keys still in the ignition. The discovery raised more questions than answers. Investigators scoured the nearby area, using drones and divers to search the water, but there was no trace of him. Some believed he had fled the country, while others suspected he had taken his own life out of guilt. News outlets ran constant updates, flashing Omar's photo across screens with headlines describing him as a husband on the run. Behind the scenes, detectives pieced together his final hours. Surveillance cameras showed Omar driving aimlessly through the city, stopping briefly at a gas station to buy a bottle of water before heading toward the marina. His face on the footage looked hollow, his movements slow, as if he were carrying the weight of everything that had gone wrong. Investigators believed he might have spent the night wandering before abandoning his car near the water. 6 days after Camille's death, a fisherman made a grim discovery: a man's body floating near the harbor. It was Omar. The autopsy confirmed drowning as the cause of death. In his pocket, police found a small folded note written in shaky handwriting. It read, "I couldn't forgive her. I couldn't forgive him. I'm sorry." The message ended with one haunting line: "Love can destroy as easily as it creates." Authorities ruled it an apparent suicide, closing one chapter of the case, but leaving behind endless questions. Both brothers were now gone in different ways, one to guilt, the other to despair, and the story that began with love had ended in unbearable silence. Camille's body was flown back to the Philippines a week later, her casket draped in white and surrounded by flowers sent by friends who still couldn't believe what had happened. Her family waited at the airport in silence, faces drained of emotion. They had imagined her new life in Dubai would bring happiness, stability, and pride. Instead, it ended with unanswered questions and shattered dreams. During her funeral, people whispered about betrayal, jealousy, and tragedy, but her parents refused to speak about the case. They simply wanted their daughter to rest in peace, far from the chaos that had consumed her final days. Back in Dubai, the hotel where everything occurred quietly replaced its management team. The suite where Camille died was closed for months, rumored to be haunted. Guests and staff avoided even walking near it. Khalid vanished from public life completely. Some said he left the country. Others claimed he had checked himself into a private clinic, unable to live with the guilt that haunted him. Police closed the investigation after confirming no other suspects, marking the case as a domestic tragedy caused by betrayal and emotional collapse. In the years that followed, the story became a cautionary tale told among expatriate communities, a reminder of how quickly love could turn dark. Online forums still debated whether Camille's death was an accident, a crime of passion, or something more sinister. No one would ever know what truly happened inside that hotel suite. The truth was buried with the people who could tell it. What remained was a painful lesson about the fragility of trust and how secrets, once revealed, can destroy even the most beautiful of beginnings. Love had promised forever, but it delivered only silence and sorrow.